Hey painting friends, welcome back to the studio, and today we're just going to chat. We are going to talk about paint. Now recently I did a comparison because I've seen a lot of tutorials out there for beginner painters and they're using a particular paint that I had never used before. So I thought, well, maybe, I should try those. So I did, and I compared them against the paint that I typically use in my lessons, which is plaid folk art, either multi-surface or the matte finish. And they come in the little 2-ounce bottles, and they're relatively inexpensive. You can get them at Hobby Lobby, Michael's, for around $2, give or take. And they've always done very well for me. The color has lasted for years and years. I have paintings in here that I did back in the late 90s, early 2000s, and the color is still just as vibrant as can be. And the opacity, I've never had any issues with the opacity. Now there's some colors that don't have a lot of opacity, and that goes across the board, whether it's in the what do you call them, professional acrylics, heavy-bodied acrylics. Like a lot of reds, they're not opaque. So you have to help them to be opaque. So I decided to buy the paints that I've seen other beginning painting tutorials using, and that's the Liquitex Basics. So I did a side-by-side comparison, and I wanted to share that with you. So here is my little test sheet. Can you see that? So right along this side is the Liquitex colors I painted on. And I tried to find a comparable because they're not all called the same thing. So here is Burnt Umber in the Liquitex, and here it is in the Plaid Folk Art. Can you see? The Plaid Folk Art is much more opaque. That means it has more pigment. Now there's a little tiny difference in color. It looks like the Liquitex has a bit more red in it, or it may be just that that's coming through because, could be that's coming through because the pigment isn't as heavy. So that's Burnt Umber, and then when this one is Real Brown, I was testing the Real Brown with the Plaid Folk Art against it too to see what the difference was. These are so close, they're nearly interchangeable. And there's Dioxazine Purple, and this is the Plaid Folk Art regular, and this is the multi-surface. Now when I mean regular, I think this one was put out in the, when they were doing the pure pigments, and I think they've discontinued these. I don't know if they didn't sell well or what it was. But anyway, so there's still the multi-surface, and the opacity is better, just slightly better than this one. And I think the quality of the color is better. This is medium orange with Liquitex, and this is the pure orange of the Plaid Folk Art. Again, the pure orange for me, it's here I can see it's more opaque. This one seems to have more of a pink hue. This has more of a yellow hue to me. And that's okay. I was just testing side by side. This is what came in that basic 12 pack. Okay, here's the primary red, and I compared it to the Apple Red, Plaid Folk Art Apple Red, Engine Red, and Cardinal Red. This is the Liquitex Alizarin Crimson. So you can see the opacity of the Cardinal and the Apple far exceed the Liquitex colors. And here's the blacks. The blacks all pretty matched up fairly well. This is Licorice and Pure Black. These are the two Folk Art colors. So here's the blue. This is, let me put my glasses on. Oh, there they are. This one is the primary blue. Here's True Blue and Cobalt Hue, and you can see how they're looking there compared to each other. So the Cobalt Hue definitely has more opacity than the primary blue, and it's close in color. So there is no like for like that I could tell with the Liquitex. Like in the Folk Art, there is no light primary blue that I know of. There's all these other blues, but I tried to find one that I thought closely matched. And so here's the light green permanent. Here's the Folk Art Citrus Green, Here's the Folk Art Lime, which is pretty close. I didn't do, and here's the Classic Green. And I think that may be the Thicket. No, this is the Thicket down here. So you can see, and here's the Phthalo Green. So this is like the blue-green color. So you can see that, again, better opacity with the folk art paints, pretty much. So, also, I wanted to do price comparison. The 12-pack here cost me $28. And it's not even a full ounce, these little tubes. Whereas I was pricing a set on Amazon. I was doing like for like, I got the Liquitex set on Amazon, and I wanted to see what sets were on Amazon for the plaid folk art. Now you can go into a store and individually buy these paints, and you're going to pay about the same price. But you also can pick the colors that you prefer over the ones included in the set. But this one set had like 25, 26 colors. It was $39, came with 10 brushes. I'm not sure what kind of quality the brushes are. I have my preference for brushes. So I wasn't worried about the brushes. But 26 colors at the $38 or $39 price, it ended up being, $1.50 or so for or less than $1.50. I can't remember. It was less than $2 per bottle, and you're getting 2 ounces. So you're getting double the amount of paint for double the amount of paint for the same money, or even less money. So, and you're getting what seems to be a better quality paint when I have tested them side by side. So I will link the set that I am referring to here on Amazon. Now, this set, I've never ordered these sets off of Amazon, so I don't know if the paint is old. I don't know, because sometimes you can order stuff and the paint's gloppy and old, and that's not worth it. So I'm getting the set in the mail. I will test it, and I will tell you exactly how it flies for me. But you could get these colors in a hobby store, like Hobby Lobby, Michael's, Joann's. And the only reason I went ahead and bought the set was so I could test it for you if you wanted to order it. Secondly was I live an hour and a half from any hobby store. So if you counted up the fuel, etc., for me to go and a day that it would take me to do that, it is far cheaper for me to order online. The downside, this set does not have my favorite green in it, which is Thicket. Thicket and Sap are my favorite dark greens that I use a lot in my paintings, as well as it does not have citrus green, which I've begun using quite a bit, and fresh foliage. So if you can pick those colors up, this set really is a nice set and uses a lot of the colors that I frequently use. There's also a 10-bottle set, and these sets have a good array of colors if you want to just get started. So when I get my set in, I will do a lot of painting tutorials, or some just using the paints in this, with the addition of, wait a minute, this does have Thicket in it. I'm wrong. So it doesn't have citrus and it doesn't have fresh foliage. Those are the two that it doesn't have. Okay, sorry for that mess up. Anyways, that is my little spiel on the comparison between the Liquitex Basics and the Plaid Folk Art paint. Also, I have used the Deco Art Americana, and that I would say is very comparable to the Plaid Folk Art paint in quality and opacity. So that's another option. Yeah, now the Delta Ceram Coat, I love that. It has lots of opacity, a lot of pigmentation, but it's a little more fluid. You can still use it for my painting tutorials. It would work really well too. And like I said, and that's also made by Plaid. And if that's what you can find, just try to find colors like a dark green, or a citrusy green, etc. So that'll work for you to paint with if that's what you have available to you. So I hope you will join me in the next video, and I hope you really enjoyed this comparison so that you can know that when I am suggesting using plaid folk art paint, that you are using a very good quality paint, that the colors will last for a very long time. Now I'm going to show you one thing. I wanted to show you an example. I had painted this sign for my kitchen back in 2003. And you can see the colors are still vibrant and bright. It did hang in a spot that had bright sunlight. It wasn't hitting directly on it, but the room was brightly lit. And that can fade paints, and still this has maintained its color fastness. So don't worry about fading or it's losing color unless it's in direct sunlight where the sun's beating on it during the day. The colors will hold up. So that being said, I hope to see you in my next painting tutorial where we are going to paint something fun, I'm sure. All right.